resource practitioner for the past 16 years across several industries. She's currently the founder and principal trainer of Breakthrough Catalyst. I'm going to ask her first and foremost, a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Jasmine, did you go out on your own primarily because you'd seen the ups and downs in the business world?
Hi, thanks everyone, and thanks Keith. I think I've been in HR for the past 16 years, and I felt that in a human resource space where I work with different industries and employees and leaders and managers, I felt that there was a lack of maybe employee recognition and appreciation in the workplace. And as economy downturns comes in with tailspin of the economy, you find that the employee motivation and engagement actually drops. And we can always see that.
I wonder why.
I think that's because they feel more stress and there's more workload. Nowadays, we talk about doing more with less people, less resources. And people are really worried about their survival and their next paycheck. So in the organization climate at times, there could be a lot of demotivation where bosses expect the staff to work hard and faster, but maybe they do not take the time or take the staff for granted and fail to appreciate them appropriately.
Some people would say, it is an employer's market at this juncture in time. Most of the employees feel that you have this sword of Damocles hanging over your head at any given point. If you don't like it, there's the door. See if you can find something better outside, especially in a downturn. And the sentiment, especially from people are getting from their superiors, or the fact that, in this day and age, and this time of that we're in, this economic time, you should be even grateful that you have a job, increment or not.
I agree on that point about nowadays leaders and managers would expect the staff that you should be thankful that you already have a job.
Right.
And I think in every organization, I always talk about the 4 M's, which is man, machine, method, and last is mindset. You may have the best method and the best machine, but if your men do not have a positive mindset to willing to think for the organization, willing to achieve the vision, mission, values of the organization. They feel they're part of the organization, that they even say proudly about their organization to their friends and public. And the last part is about doing the extra mile to enable the organization to succeed. I think an organization's competitive advantage against other competitors, or even for Singapore, against other countries in the world, is our human capital. And human capital is not just about money, it's also about the day-to-day interactions and appreciation. So earlier I was actually on a taxi when I came here, and the driver told me he was once an F&B manager, and he asked me, what topic am I talking about? And I shared with him that I would talk about appreciation at work. And the first thing, his eyes actually shine, and he told me that, this is very important. When I was in my workplace, I lead a team, and I feel that when we appreciate them, it makes them work harder and better. And the workplace is like a second home. In fact, we spend most of our time at work. Our colleagues, our bosses, and our team members are in fact a part of the big family.
Tell them more than you do the family side. So then why do bosses, and that is, I suppose, the eternal enigma, why don't they show more appreciation to their staff?
I think there are many reasons. One is boss takes staff for granted, like earlier Keith has said, once they paid to the job.
I'm in the third person now. Keith, that's it.
Yes. And the next thing is too busy with work. They have no time to appreciate. But I'd like to add on that, as a leader, your day-to-day responsibilities to your staff is to lead them, motivate them. So I'm sure all of us as leaders have to manage our staff through discussion, meetings, and even give them assignment. So take these opportunities to straight away to not just jump into to-do lists. Have you done this? Have you done that? Why are you wrong? But look at certain positive aspects that you can affirm them. And the other reason why I find leaders sometimes do not appreciate is because we need to understand their environment that they were grown up.
Precisely. We have to look at the flip side of things. They have their job KPIs to fulfill as well. They have bosses and their bosses have bosses.
That's right. And their bosses also have certain expectations of them.
Right.
But what I felt was that just that generation, their generation could be expected to work hard And the bosses say nothing means they are doing a good job.
Are you talking about the millennial workforce at this particular point in time?
I'm talking about the other generations.
Okay.
And I think that it's just that parenting is so different from my parents who were more authoritarian during their times, and now being a mother, I'm more consultative. So nowadays,
you let the children run rampant at the void decks. Are you one of those?
Not really, but rather we have to understand and have mutual understanding.
Okay.
And I like to point out the third part is there's a Chinese saying which is beating is a sign of affection and scolding a sign of love.
Okay.
So what it means here is that harsh words and actions by the manager demonstrates tough love. So I do see experience of leaders and managers actually they have a good intention, but they do not express appropriately, and sometimes they could be very critical, thinking that's helping the staff, but actually it's demotivating the staff.
Do they all need to go for some form of EQ courses, given the fact, the do as I say, don't do as I do sort of mentality? We knew that was out the door a long time ago, but we are faced by a millennial workforce these days. If you don't give them a career path, if you don't show them a career path, you don't show them a mentorship, you don't perhaps guide them along their way or pay them enough, they're going to walk out the door. They're not like the you and I's that will stay no matter what, thick and thin. So how do you deal with a millennial workforce if I am using this authoritarian approach?
Sure. And I think about in the appreciation at workplace, which is the 5 languages, they talks about there's no such thing as which generation prefer what kind of appreciation. So there's a profiling known as the motivating by appreciation profiling, whereby the 5 languages, the first one is the words of affirmation.
Okay.
So if let's say you find your staff is doing positive actions, it's not just about results. It could also he or she exhibit certain great corporate values like being proactive, be specific and timely. That's critical because you don't just wait for weeks or months to appreciate and tell the staff when the impact of appreciation has dropped.
Okay, that's the first one, but we work in tight deadlines. There we have eye to the bottom line. I can't come, if I were a boss, I can't, oh, you are so wonderful today and be so nice and strokey and touchy-feely. Oh, I feel your pain sort of thing, but do it anyway. How do you can't be expressing these these emotions of appreciation all the time because certain things are expected of you.
Rather than straight away jump into tasking about tasks, you could start with example, talk about the positive aspects. That's one. The second thing also, if your staff prefer quality time, then there's a need for you to sit down and pay attention and focus attention. So nowadays, I know leaders and managers are very busy. They could be rather disengaged at times during meeting, multitasking. So when your staff comes to you, require your attention because they need help or advice, I would advise that leaders and managers, they should stop using their gadgets or laptop, but rather pay their attention and have a quality conversation.
Sounds like being a parent to me.
Yes, it's about being a parent in certain aspect.
At the workforce.
Yes, that's right. And it's like being empathetic and paying attention to what they say. The other third aspect about acts of service, I mean, when staff comes to you, they're actually looking for assistance. Right. So acts of service talks about how you're able to understand their issues and actually help them to mitigate their problems. So as of service, I've seen bosses doing that, but sometimes they do it in a very angry tone or harsh tone. So they may say that, oh, why are you wasting my time? Why can't you do this? How come you cannot do this compared to the other person?
Why don't you have any initiative to go and find something?
Right. So I find that when the staff comes to you for acts of service, talking to you, take the time to understand and try to help them to resolve their problem. It could be a skill issue or will issue.
A boss would say, where do I have the time? I've got multiple phones ringing at this particular point in time. You are listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Live. We are speaking this morning about the 5 languages of appreciation. We've gotten through 4, I believe. We will come back with the 5th and a whole lot more when The Breakfast Club continues after an update of what's happening in the world and on the roads of Singapore. Stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
The news and more on 938 Live.
Culture never sounded this good.
Some people think a good cocktail has got to be super complicated, but not true.
Jasmine Liu. Jasmine is a human resource practitioner, or she was for the past 6 years. She's the founder and principal trainer of her own company, breakthrough catalyst. It specializes in training, employee engagement, and organization development. Jasmine, welcome back into the Breakfast Club. Before we go into the fifth language of appreciation, in your interaction with employees and management, in your capacity as a trainer and motivator, I'd like to say, what's the biggest problem? Is it communication? We've been hearing this for years and years and years. Is it because we come from an Asian background that we are not expressive enough? I'll leave that to you right now.
Sure. I think the first thing is about we tend to appreciate our staff based on our preference. As I said, we have 5 languages.
Okay.
I already mentioned words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, tangible gifts, and physical touch in the workplace is a bit different.
Oh, goodness.
So in the love languages, we have 5, but in the
Okay.
workplace, the physical touch is about spontaneous handshakes and celebration. That's reinforced with the other languages.
Slapping someone on the back, hopefully not too hard.
Pat on the back.
Okay, pat
Positive pat on the
Okay,
back.
positive, okay.
That's right. So when we have just like we all of us have our own preferences. So I've seen an experience before where I conduct a program for a company. During the training, the manager came to me and said that, do you know, I have this staff who always comes to me and talk to me when I'm so busy, and asking me for help. And he said that he has challenged working with the staff and managing their relationship. And I asked further, what is your appreciative language? And through his profile, his blind spot, his least valued language is quality time, which means he doesn't like to sit down and talk to his staff. He could be, in fact, he's quite an introvert.
Indeed.
Yes, and he
Yeah.
prefer to write words of affirmation through email rather than face to face. And after he went through the program, he realized his blind spot, and he realized that different strokes for different folks. Not everyone is appreciated in the same way. What makes one person feel appreciated doesn't mean it makes the other person feels appreciated. So as a leader and manager, you need to understand the different styles of what your staff actually wants in terms of the appreciative language that you are going to express or show, and understand yourself what are your primary and secondary language and also your least valued language.
You know, Jasmine, when you talk about appreciating someone's efforts, commending them for the work that they've done, but when you do this in the midst of say the general staff, say 5 of 10 people, and you keep going, wow, this person has done wonderful. You know, you all should emulate her. Don't you think some form of resentment point there, or do you think it's a motivating factor?
Right. If let's say you use this technique, which is called words of affirmation, provided the staff values it,
Okay.
it can be one-on-one. It can also be in a group or public
Okay.
affirmation,
Right.
affirmation or written affirmation. So when you talk about affirming a staff, and I think it's important to tell everyone that say you're doing a public affirmation towards a group about what this person did specifically in terms of corporate values, besides just achieving results. And I think not every one of us want to be in the limelight. So it's important for you to identify what your staff usually wants from you. Do they always seek you for time, attention, help, or they prefer my boss to give me words of affirmation or even tangible gift? Just like in words of affirmation, it depends. People who value this, they like what is being said and how. But acts of service are people who believe that action speaks louder than words. My boss can praise me, and give me a lot of motivation, but it's the action.
At the end of the day, it's not reflected in my paycheck. So let's talk about, how far does this showing of appreciation go? Are there limits? Should there be limits?
In fact, there's no limits. There's a great difference
Really?
between recognition and appreciation.
Okay.
Recognition is about paycheck, monetary benefits, bonuses, increments, and gifts. And it's very depending on the organization financial climate. And nowadays we have budget constraints. So I have an organization that comes to me, the HR director said that he wants the staff to break away from thinking that to appreciate people, I need money. In fact, you don't. The 5 languages doesn't involve any money.
Okay.
And you can appreciate anyone bottom up, top down, to all levels, as long as a person deserves an appreciation from you. You can even appreciate your boss. I was once a leader, and I always find that I help my staff, but I really hope one day they could also appreciate me for what I did. And I think it's all a very healthy ecosystem for organizations where we appreciate people if they deserve it. And the next thing about difference between recognition and appreciation is recognition is about achieving results and outcomes. And it's always the same top 10%, 20%, the best performer, you see them day in, day out, they're the same, and you neglect the majority who may not achieve the results, but they work hard, they put in effort. So when you appreciate someone, it's not just about the results, but what have you done, and especially you demonstrate corporate values, as well as your personality. The last part about appreciation is also that you can appreciate a staff for their process of doing things and the progress, especially nowadays, our assignment could be challenging that needs time and several steps to do, or even a project that requires a long time. Right. So why should we only recognize the staff only at the end of achieving the project or results?
You know, we've talked to a lot of HR experts and a lot of employees and employers on this program. There seems to be a common thread about when tough times hit corporations, the only people left standing are the HR department.
We are the last to go.
Okay. So, you know, when we talk about appreciation, do people really appreciate as to what an HR department does? Or do they know what it does? Besides, you know, make my paycheck, give me a parking spot, ease my pay into my accounts and things of that nature.
I think HR has evolved. In the past, it's called a personnel department, or even people see it as a staff welfare department. But nowadays, we have actually played a very key role in HR partnering with the staff. I think we should also appreciate HR, because if not, where should we get our regular paycheck on time? And in fact, sometimes I do feel that our community could be a thankless job, because we are behind the scenes appreciating people, but we have no one appreciating us at times, except ourselves or our bosses.
Thankless task, as they say.
Yes. So I think about the HR, what role has changed is about employee engagement. So nowadays we are building environment for staff to feel that they can strive at work. And I think employee engagement talks about making the staff to think for the organization. How can they align to the vision, mission, and they believe in it and help the organization to achieve the goals. And the next part is the feeling. I think we focus a lot on thinking, telling people, oh, this is your business plan, this is your KPI. The feeling, as I said, the workplace is like second home. You need to feel for it. You need to have a sense of belonging whereby you strive and perform, or even you speak well about the organization to the public. I think that's a great ambassador for our people if they talk about the organization. And lastly, it's about act. You can feel motivated. You can say, I'm loyal to the company, but to you, do the extra mile beyond what I expect you to do and help the organization to succeed. I think nowadays it's not just about, although we are all trying to be surviving mode for organizations, in fact, we should be talking about how can we break through away from what we are doing to do something new.